Hi. Hello. Happy Wednesday. Today we are talking about my number one tip to help you finally pull the trigger and engage in the difficult conversation that you have been avoiding for far too long. If you're live, make sure you comment and engage. Let me know you're here, where you're tuning in from, and what questions you have as we go through this topic so that I can coach you right now, live and in person. And if you're on the replay, don't worry. Still comment. Let me know what struck with you, what kind of support you need, what helped, and we'll have a conversation right in the comments. I am Anna Stewart. I'm a confidence coach. I coach women who are goal oriented, recovering people pleasers. I coach them to put the desires of their heart first and stop being held back and overwhelmed and burdened by the needs, wants, and opinions of others. Live your life for you, boo. So, I have a free guide called The Recovering People Pleasers Guide to Tough Conversations and Personal Relationships that goes along with the theme of this live. So if you feel like you aren't able to get everything you need today or you want to go a little bit deeper, that guide is completely free. It's at the link in my bio. You download it, and I also provide you some email support with additional tips. And you can comment and we can talk right in the emails. Anyway, the reason why I thought that this was a really good topic to bring up is because if you're like me, you stress a lot about what's going to happen after the conversation. So, two things kind of contribute to us avoiding having this conversation. And one is the stress of the conversation itself. What's going to happen in that moment? How are they going to respond? How will they be upset? Will they not like me? Will they reject me? Am I going to blow everything up? And also, what's going to happen afterwards? How are we going to move forward? Will we move forward? What am I going to do? So, if you can guess, that's actually my number one tip for finally pulling the trigger when it comes to tough conversations. This helps me a lot, not only in having tough conversations, but also when I am like applying for a job. What I do, the tip is to plan the post care. Plan your aftercare, your after action prior to engaging into it. And so when I'm like going for an interview at a job and I'm freaking out and I'm so stressed, I start saying, okay, what am I going to do if I get the job? And what am I going to do if I'm not going to do the job, get the job? And so the same thing happens here when we're getting ready to engage in this tough conversation, when it's like on our minds and we know that it's something that we need to pull the trigger and actually do to help us. It's really important to step into that visualization piece and picture, what am I going to do if things go well? What am I going to do if things don't go well? What am I going to do if things kind of go well and not so much? And so part of that visualization you should include, because it's all about what you're going to do. It's not obsessing about what they're going to do, because we've been doing that. That's why we're not engaging in the conversation. So let that go. It's not about what they're going to do afterwards. It's about what you're going to do to take care of you. The first thing I want you to do is to celebrate yourself no matter what. I don't care the results of the conversation. I don't care if they agree to you and you guys found common ground and now they're accepting your boundaries, they're accepting your feelings and your thoughts, and you guys have found a way to move forward. That's wonderful. I pray that happens for you. However, regardless of what happens, you did a really tough thing. You chose to speak up for yourself. You chose to stand up for yourself. You chose to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. And as a result, that deserves some freaking celebration. I don't care what happens. You need to celebrate that. That is a big freaking deal. Celebrate it. I'm very passionate about this. And so before we're creating this post-care plan prior to engagement. So when we're coming up with this post-care plan, we're going to decide how we are going to celebrate ourselves and acknowledge ourselves for doing something really hard. The second thing we're going to include in this post-care plan is actual self-care. And yes, that can include bubble baths if that's what you need to do, but it also can include talking to someone who you trust, who you know you can just be like, listen, I just need somebody to talk to right now. You need to have that plan in place. It could be going for a walk. It could be anything. Whatever you feel serves you and is going to help you in that moment, that is what you need to make sure is included in the self-care plan. When you think about the stress and the strength and the energy that it's going to take to engage in this conversation, think about what's going to best suit you and best serve you when you're considering your self-care plan. Hi, Janine. So we have our post-care plan. We've got the celebration, we got the self-care, and then we're going to also talk about in our post-care plan, what action are we going to take? And so this is where I was talking about like the job before, like it's visualizing what am I going to do? And it's really helpful for me. It gives me a lot of peace. You can become obsessive with this, so be careful and like I said, really focus on what you're going to do, not what you're going to obsess about the other person doing because we can't control them. We have no idea what they're going to do. All we're in control of is ourselves and how we react. So when you're thinking about your action plan of what you're going to do, you're going to say to yourself, if things go well, this is how I'm going to move forward. If things don't go well, worst case scenario happens, this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to move forward. And so taking a moment to visualize that is going to give you a sense of peace and remind you that you do have control. You do have control in this situation. Sometimes we can feel like we're the victim and everything is happening to us and we they get to choose and they get to decide and we just have to receive, but we don't. You are also in control and you get to decide what's going to happen moving forward just as much as they do. And regardless, you're going to be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but I really want to remind you that you are going to be okay. All right, so let's recap. The number one tip for engaging in tough conversations and finally pulling the trigger and doing what you said you were going to do, and it's been so hard to do and you've been avoiding doing it. The number one tip is to create your post care plan at the beginning. So before you engage in the conversation, create your post care plan. That post care plan should include three things. Number one, how are you going to celebrate yourself? Regardless of whether things go wrong or they go bad, you did a hard freaking thing and that deserves celebrating. Number one, celebrate. Do not miss this part. I mean it. I'm watching you. Celebrate. Number two is a significant self-care plan that you know is truly going to serve your needs for when you have been so vulnerable and so raw. So a self-care plan that can include bubble baths if you want it to, but maybe it also needs to include reaching out to a therapist or a really good friend or someone who can support you and just hold you and hold space for you in that moment. The number three thing we're going to do in our post self-care plan is visualize the actions we are going to take to move us forward, whether things go right or whether things go wrong. We're going to kind of visualize both situations and kind of have a plan. Plan for the best case scenario, plan for the worst case scenario. And that is going to give you a little bit of sense of peace and remind you that you have control and that you can move forward. So again, I have a guide that gives you some space to journal on these things, ask you some additional questions, and talks about the whole process and all the tips I have for engaging in tough conversations for recovering people pleasers. That free guide is in my bio. You can download it. You'll receive email support, and that email support will also give you additional tips, and you can reply to it. And I will be able to help you and support you in this journey of having these tough conversations. Hi, Custom Jewelers. Welcome. I'm just finishing up, but catch the replay. It's got some really good stuff in it. I'm glad you're here. So anyway, my name is Anna Stewart. I'm a confidence coach, for recovering people pleasers who are goal oriented and want to finally learn how to put themselves first and stop worrying and stressing and be burdened about what other people think. Live your life for you, boo. Thank you for being here today, and I will catch y'all on the live tomorrow. Bye.